The first thing. The second thing, it's great that you say that because I completely agree. Because if you're born with everything, if you're born with all this money, that you have no aspiration, nothing to actually grasp onto and trying to achieve, then money doesn't make you happy. But then you can analyze this from another angle, right? We were just talking earlier, we can always pivot back to who the matrix are, who's in charge. So let me ask you.
Do you have somebody that
Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
If you're born into a dynasty, let's say a banking dynasty, and you're born a billionaire, and you have everything you've ever wanted ever, and money has absolutely no value at all, and a brand new Ferrari doesn't mean a thing. You could buy one every 10 minutes for the rest of your life, and money doesn't make you happy. What's the one thing that's going to make you happy?
Controlling others.
Controlling others. Power.
Yeah.
Ego. So then you sit there and start looking at things.
Because
and going,
games become real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you're like, okay, well, money doesn't satisfy me. What makes me feel important? Especially if you're going to add in. Let's add in another angle to it. Let's imagine you falsely believe, because it is falsely, that you're somehow genetically better than others. You're from this lineage. You're better than the other people. And the other people, the serfs and peasants, are struggling for money, and you have unlimited money because you're so smart, and your family's always been so smart.
You'll have haughty eyes.
Yeah. So then you're going to sit there and go, well, why did they make people put on a mask when they walked in the restaurant and take the mask off to eat and then put it on to go to the toilet and then take it off to eat and then put it back on? Because
I have
I'll tell you why, because it's funny.
You think it's just because it's funny?
Because it's an ego. Because it's ego.
I thought it was the test to see how far they could push something.
Compliance tests.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing. So when you really understand that people who are in charge of the world are completely, like you said, broken. There are broken people. Money can't satisfy them. People said, I keep referencing COVID, and I do that because it was something tangible that everybody lived through. That's a very easy one to reference.
This is actually, it's a bad thing that could work in your favor because now they could relate to you.
Yeah.
They went through that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to explain to a broke kid what a rich kid goes through, or what a broke person goes through. So this is actually a huge blessing. Do you think that COVID and people's frustration on what happened to them link them to understand your theories more?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of... When I was saying during COVID about the Matrix, everyone called me crazy. And by the end of COVID, a lot of people were like, Andrew, you nailed it, day one. Because I don't think many people understand, because I wasn't nearly as famous then, but the videos exist on the internet. Me and my brother were the kings of COVID. Everyone else now understands it was garbage. Everyone else talks tough. Everyone else has their story about how they went out during COVID.
Talk now.
But you're tough now. On day one of COVID, day one, when they still had the people falling over in the street in China.
Yeah, and what was that? That video?
Yeah.
They're just running in the street and dropping dead?
Yep. When the Italian hospital was overrun, day one, my brother and I sat down and had a conversation in our war room, our cigar lounge, which looks very similar to this. And we sit down and said, if this disease will kill people like you and I, military-aged males, then the world is over. It's zombie apocalypse. So what are we going to do? And we sat there and decided whether we should hide as long as possible or if we should just go out all guns blazing. So we decided to go out all guns blazing like heroes. This is all documented. It's on video. And day one of COVID, when everyone else was afraid, we flew to Sweden because it was the only open country. And we spent the next 4 months...
Ironic.
Yeah.
Because who lives in Sweden?
Very strange. We spent the next 4 months in Stockholm in 6 nights a week in nightclubs with Swedish chicks partying while the rest of the world was locked in their house. Nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about the fact that Sweden was open, no restrictions, you could do whatever you wanted, nightclubs were open, everyone was partying, everyone else was locked up, not allowed to go to funerals. We were literally in parties all day, every day. I didn't even get sick, didn't even get a cold, and it was cold outside, didn't even get the sniffles. So we beat COVID, we won COVID early. So even after this experience, for the next 2 years of COVID, I'm trying to scream at people, listen, wake up. And like, oh, yeah, they wouldn't just put it on the news. They wouldn't just lie to us and try and scare us all for no reason until you understand the good and evil in the world and you understand that's how the devil actually operates. But the point I was going to make earlier about talking about how these people are broken and money doesn't satisfy them. People often say, COVID was just for money. And I say, that's actually a very optimistic view of the world. It wasn't just for money. It was for something far worse.
They have money.
They print money.
Yeah.
They make money. They are the money.
When I found out about I just learned about how they print money. I literally could not believe it.
Oh yeah, money's not real.
For 3 days, I'm sitting around, so I'm like, what the fuck is this? So they could just print this shit?
Money is not real. It's not real. They just print it. It's not real.
Fair. Please continue.
Yeah, so money's not real. And I say that to people. And they
so
go,
it's not about money.
No, it's not about money. So what's it about? It's about power and control. Yep. Because when you get to a certain level of wealth, and I'll talk from my own personal experience, I want people to understand I come from the lowest possible socioeconomic background. I come from a single mother household. My father and mother broke up when I was 9. I lived in Luton, England, which is the worst town in England. I grew up and went to a school with a 3% pass rate. Everyone around me was stabbing each other and selling drugs.
I thought you said your father was one of the best fathers you've ever had.
He was. But my mother and father broke up, and he stayed in America, and I moved to England. And he wasn't financially successful, but he taught me other lessons.
Gotcha.
And I'm glad he didn't give me money, because I think that a harsh upbringing and a harsh life makes a man a man. I don't think you learn a lesson any other way. But I come from the absolute bottom, and now I'm up at a position where we have a very large empire. A lot of it is shadow. Most people don't know what it is. But even our overt things, even our university and things that are online are turning over $15, $20 million a week. So we're doing crazy sums of money. So I've been from the absolute bottom to the absolute top. I've seen it all. And once you get past a certain level of wealth, once you get past a certain level of money, yeah, but then you understand what money is, right? So we say about money not being real. Money is not real from a governmental perspective because they just print it. It's nothing. But money is truthfully the stored time and energy of other people. If you have money, you have stored time and energy of other humans.
Because people are hourly rates.
That's right. Because I can take that money and make someone else use their time and energy for X thing.
Got it. So it's a different version of slavery.
Absolutely. Because if I'm going to come along and say, you're no longer my slave. As my slave, you had to work for a house and a car. You're no longer my slave. In slavery, let's actually look at slavery.
Slavery began that way.
Yeah, and slavery said, you work on my plantation, I give you somewhere to eat.
Or I'll give you my daughter.
Yeah.
This is how people would work. And that's why they were like, oh, your Bible believes in slavery. I'm like, slavery was different. It wasn't like, there was bondages.
Yep.
And there was slavery. That's why the Egyptians, that's a whole different type of slave.
Yep.
But the origination of slave was like a debt. I'm paying you a debt.
Yep. Completely. So let's look at even American slavery, the slavery that most Americans understand. You're going to work for me. I'm going to give you a house, and I'm going to give you food, and you're going to stay here, and you're going to work. Slavery is abolished. So now what do? You're going to work for me. I'm going to give you that. I'm going to give you some money. And that money is enough to only buy you a house and some food. We've just put money in the middle. Now, if I can make you do whatever I want for money, and I can print as much money as I want, you're my slave. Because I can print it from the sky, and you need it to live. So you are my slave. Money's not real. So I have all of this money. I have the stored time and energy of other humans. And once you get past a certain level of wealth, you understand, which ties back to COVID, that you're not interested in money. What you're interested in is people. It's always been about having good people around you. You want a beautiful, doting, loving woman who's obsessed with you. You want good brothers who will stand by you and make you motivated. You want bodyguards who are going to protect you. You want people. And then you want to look at it further down the rabbit hole. You want to get more sinister. If you've been born into a lineage or a dynasty or the people who control the world, you want people, you want robot people. You don't want to be spoken to disrespectfully. In your empire, in your podcast empire, right? You now have a podcast. Would you allow a member of staff to come along and say, this is bullshit. I don't like how you do this. This is shit. You're shit. Or would you fire him?
I don't know if I would fire them. I would first try to teach them how to behave.
And if they didn't listen?
They're out.
Absolutely. So let's imagine you ran a country.
Okay.
All right. Let's imagine you ran the world. And then let's imagine there's this guy called Top G who sits down there and becomes the most Googled man in the world for telling the world that COVID's a lie. And you're making everybody run around and do everything you say. You're going to allow that person to get away with it? And now you start to understand, that's how the Matrix operates. So the people who are broken, raised on money, are so obsessed with power and control, which explains a lot of the society we're in. Because they don't look up to God. These people think they are God. So
that's the biggest fall.
And they're trying to make robots of us all. They're trying to enslave us.
You know what bothers me more than anything is when I walk into an establishment and the person who's working is like, go to there, and they point at a machine. What breaks my heart is that machine is going to replace you.
Yep.
And you have no idea.
Yep.
So you've gotten in a place where the person above you is encouraging you to be replaced. That's like, hey, see yourself out, legitimately.
Yep.
See yourself out.
But people don't think. They don't, and they absolutely lack perspicacity. And then you go further down the rabbit hole because, like I said, there's layers to the rabbit hole. I don't know how Alex Jones you want me to go, but he's right about a lot.
All the way.
He's right about a lot of things.
So you're an Alex Jones fan.
I like a lot of the things he says, and I'm not saying I agree with everything he says, but a lot of the things he says have been proven to be absolutely true. You know, you say conspiracy theorist nowadays. That just means you're ahead of the curve, unfortunately. And Alex was talking about, and a lot of other people talking about, and there's a lot of text which talks about the fact that the people who are in charge of the world, they believe that as AI improves, a huge percentage of the planet are going to become useless eaters. They don't need you anymore.
That actually scares me. The guy who created it even is scared of it.
Well, that's the thing. So let's give a thought experiment. As it stands right now, most people are so uninteresting and so unremarkable that you could replace them online with a chat GPT bot and you wouldn't really notice. Genuinely, that's how boring most humans are. If you're special and remarkable and unique and you're famous or you do whatever, that's different. But most people you could replace with ChatGPT by text, you wouldn't even notice. And that is a free application which is brand new. Imagine we're going to be in 20 years from now. So we start talking about useless eaters. This has been discussed by very important, very powerful people at length. The same people who are trying to give you the vaccine are talking about the fact that the population of the earth needs to decline. Why do we need, they say it, Bill Gates says it. Why do we need to get rid of people? Well, machines will do it. So why do we need people sitting around who have hopes, dreams, aspirations? They want health care, they want safety, security, children, all of this garbage. We just need somebody to do X job, and a machine can do X job. So what do we need these people for?